This week's question of the week, we're going to take a look at some safety tips to keep you safe this holiday season as you go about shopping in just your day-to-day business. So a couple things that I want to touch on, and this will by no means be a comprehensive list of everything, just some highlights of some things that I think you should consider before leaving your home, going to shop, and making it back safely. One of the biggest things is, number one, be aware of your surroundings. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they're so in love with their freaking cell phone that I was at the grocery store earlier today, and this person, they're walking in between cars and they're staring at their phone, and they ran into the side of a car because they were so busy staring at their phone that they was oblivious that there was a car in front of them. And I thought, wow, the problem wasn't just a safety problem of being hit by a car, or in this case, they hit the car walking into it. But if predators are watching you, you're totally oblivious. You could walk into a terrible situation. We've had instances, reported on the news where people have walked into gas stations or convenience stores staring at their phone, and when they get inside, they're totally oblivious until it's too late that there's an armed robbery going on because they're staring at their freaking phone. So you have to be aware of your surroundings and realize whether you're going to an ATM, a grocery store, a shopping center, that there's predators there that are there looking for you, and you have to be aware of what's going on around you. And it's the same concept like if, say, you got relatives that hunt. A lot of times they'll set up feeds, corn feed or something, where the deer or the pigs get used to going to, and then when it's hunting season, they know they can go to that feeding place and they'll find their prey. Same thing, in the wild, lions will hang out around water sources. An alligator or a crocodile, he's standing in the water. He's not coming on shore to get you. He just knows that his prey is going to come to the water, and that's where they're going to get him. So two-legged predators understand the same concept, except instead of waiting by water sources or food sources, they're simply going to be by banks, ATMs, shopping centers, and especially this time of year, they know there's going to be a lot of prey at the shopping centers. And you can't be so in love with your freaking phone and whatever is going on that you're oblivious to what's happening. So look around you. Take notice if there's some suspicious people there or things that just don't look right. Go back into the store. Or if it seems like somebody's following you, go back into the store and, contact security. And it's better to overreact than become a victim. So look for things that aren't right. And then the other thing is, like, when you get in your car, once again, don't fall in love with the phone or the radio station or whatever you do when you're sitting in your car. Realize that those doors in your car, in most vehicles, don't automatically lock until you put it in drive. So when you get in the car, hit the lock button. Make sure it's locked. The doors are locked so somebody can't just easily get access to you. The other thing is, plan out your strategy of what your red line is for you to fight and go at it. And what I mean by that is, if I go to the store today and I'm coming out of some store with a bag, and some crook runs by and grabs my bag and runs off, I already know in advance whether I'm going to run after him or not, because for me, I know what my red line is. So what I mean by that is, instead of trying to make a decision on the spot, I already pre-thought of what might happen. Because there's certain things that there's a red line, like, okay, we are going to fight to the death for this. Like, say, if you're trying to carjack me, and my grandson, who's 3, is in the back seat in his car seat. You're not taking the car with me still breathing. Like, this is my red line. I am going to save my grandson. I'm not going to watch you drive away hoping that you're a good person. Like, this is my line in the sand. So you have to determine what your red line is. So if somebody grabs your bag and they're running off, I would suggest you just let them go. Or, of course, call the police, but just realize, but think about that in advance. So I recommend going shopping in groups. Don't go by yourself. And definitely, I would never go shopping. I would never recommend anybody go shopping by themselves with a small child. Because now there's so much red line and there's so much vulnerability there. Because you're going to be absorbed with the child, there's distractions, and you can't let them take the child. And you become an easier victim. And they're looking for those type of victims. So be very alert to that. One of the things that's happening is it's a new thing. They call it jugging. I might be wrong. But what it is the crooks watch you at the store, buying high merchandise or high value items, or they watch you go into the bank, making a withdrawal or the ATM, and then they just follow you home. Once again, be aware of your surroundings. Like, if something don't feel right, or if it seems like a car is following you, trust your instincts. And if I think a car is following me, I'm not driving straight home. One thing you can try is take 4 right turns. Go up to the next street, take a right turn, go down, take another right turn, then another right turn, and another right turn. If that car is still behind you after those 4 right turns, they are following you. You're not overreacting. You would now have a problem. So it's like, okay, well, what should you do? The old advice would be like, drive to a crowded area. But as we've seen on social media, we've got a number of people in our society that will happily watch you be victimized and record it with their phones. I don't know if they're recording it to turn it into the police or just post it on their social media accounts for more views, but they won't intervene. So that advice, I wouldn't necessarily recommend. What I would recommend, if you think somebody's following you, call 911 on your phone. Now you can use your phone. Now's a good time to use your phone for something that's going to be productive. Call 911. Let the police know, hey, this person's been following me since I left the store or the bank. I took 4 right turns. They're still behind me. Let them know what your location is and get their advice. And, this happened to one of our students here maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And the police are like, hey, we will meet you at this parking lot up the street. Come to this point. They came to that point. The police were there. They confronted the person. It was a road rage type incident. And everything was handled. So that's a productive use of your phone. Not text messaging your best friend forever, or checking up on the latest sports scores, or whatever people do looking at their phone that they're so absorbed with. You can't be doing that. You got to focus on what's going on in your surroundings so you don't become a victim. And that also applies, like, if the person rear ends you. If you're by yourself, there's no reason to get out of the car. Stay in the car, call the police, and watch what they do. And if it looks like, they rear-ended me because they're getting ready to carjack me or rob me or whatever, your car is your best chance for safety. And I would drive right off. I would not recommend erratic driving to lose a tail. That's what you call the police for and get to. But another thing is keep your gas tank full. It's surprising how many people, go places and their gas tank is on E. Or just about E. That limits how long you can drive in that car. Like for me, I always keep, I drive an old pickup truck. I always keep the tank full. It never goes past half a tank. Because if I need to drive and I can't afford to stop, well, I've got plenty of gas to do so. If you put yourself in the situation where you're already on E, it's like, well, you can't drive away. You have a huge problem. So keep the tank full. Another thing, I read the statistic, but I don't want to misquote it. But if you're being robbed, being victimized, I talked earlier about the red line in the sand. Like your red line, like it can't go past this. Realize if you are being abducted, they're trying to force you in a car to take you someplace else. The chances of a good outcome are almost nil. There's a good chance this will be fatal, or you're going to be victimized terribly because you're already in a spot where nobody's going to help you. Guarantee you get in that vehicle and they take you someplace else. Ain't nobody going to help you in that someplace else. So your best chance is to fight for all you got right in that spot. So sometimes fighting is not the answer. Resisting is not the answer. Like if they're just stealing some items, like, okay, you got the item. But just realize, there's going to be red lines, and try to determine that in advance. And when it comes to self-protection, of course, martial arts is good, but we have to be realistic about martial arts. Like if I'm going against multiple people, this is a situation that's not going to be a good outcome for me. If I'm going against multiple people and they're armed, this is going to be a terrible outcome. So be aware, like think these things through, what your red lines are, and what things you carry for self-defense in addition to having fighting skills. Like fighting skills alone are not enough. But don't go for any ghost tales. Like, I see people, they talk about, they used to tell us, stick keys in between your fingers to hit somebody. Terrible idea. Because all you're doing is aggravating them. It's not going to be enough to deter them. Or like things like whipping out a baton to try to hit somebody with it. You'll see numerous videos of police hitting suspects, trying to detain somebody with batons. And that person can continue to resist because they're not, of course it's going to hurt tomorrow. But if somebody's trying to hurt me, I don't want them to hurt tomorrow. I need to stop them right now. So I'm not a fan of the batons, or like the tasers. Not a fan of those, because there's numerous cases where either it doesn't have a charge, or maybe the taser has, like shoots some sticky things, but both have to go in, or it's not working. They get various setups, but it's like the last thing you want to do is be in a life-death situation, thinking, okay, I'm going to taser this person, and the taser don't work. So you got a real problem. Pepper spray is legit. Mace. Look at your local laws. But if you're going to go that route, realize, like in the military, and I know the police do the same thing. Like once a year, like they would spray us with pepper spray, and then we had to fight through it. Hit different bags, and do different hand-to-hand combat, because you can continue to fight through pepper spray. It's not going to be a pleasant experience. Now, I think pepper spray is very effective for what an average civilian would need to deter a criminal, but just realize that doesn't necessarily stop them. So be aware of that, but also be aware of like your local laws. But if you go the pepper spray route, I would recommend you buy two. One, use to practice. Like the first time you ever have to deploy that pepper spray should not be when your life is on the line. Like, and then you're like, how does this work? I didn't really read the instructions, or I don't really know how the spray pattern is going. So buy two. Use the first one, see what the spray pattern is, see how to work it, and then you can throw that one away. And then on the second one, the one that you're going to carry, it's like, like I know how to operate this. I know what the spray pattern is going to be, because you don't want to spray and then a lot of the spray gets on you too. So you got to train with it. Same thing if you're carrying, any kind of firearm, and it all depends on your local laws. But you have to train with whatever you think you might be using, because you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to your level of training. So if you don't know how to use it and you're panicked in an emergency, there's a good chance it's going to be a bad outcome. So, like I said, this is by no means a comprehensive list. Just some of the things that I thought about when this question came up to keep people safe is, and just be aware of your surroundings. Realize that there's a lot of predators, and you need to spot them And because there might not be anybody there to help you. And a lot of times, you know, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. You know, they want to help you, but they may not be able to get there in time. So be aware of your surroundings. And I hope this is helpful. If anybody has some tips, feel free to comment below. And we can all learn. And until next week, ciao.